current government of Edo State because of the love that you have for children.
The approval for the construction of the facility awaits ESCO ratification. When constructed, it will encompass accident and emergency wards specifically for children, clinical areas, theaters, laboratories, and offices. For Governor Paulo, the initiative is in line with both the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the state government's healthcare delivery initiative, assuring the visitor of the state government support.
We put up a memo to see that we get the fund. We present it before the ESCO. I know everybody at the ESCO will also buy into it because we don't have any other state than this state, and the children are our children. So if it's me today, tomorrow it can be someone else. So we need to protect our people. We need to protect our children. So I want you to be rest assured that UBTH is part of us.
Governor Paulo is confident in the ability of Professor Idia Ize-Yamu to lead the hospital, given her track record of transparency and dedication to service. In Benin, good luck in Aini. NT News.
The House of Representatives is to carry out a comprehensive investigation on the budget, incomes and expenditure of the University of Benin Teaching Hospital between 2023 and 2024. The Chairman House Committee on Public Health Institutions, Patrick Umor, stated this during the committee's oversight visit to the hospital in Benin. Jude Abugo reports.
The visit to the hospital is part of the committee's oversight functions of ensuring that public health institutions in the country serve the interests of Nigerians. The Chairman, House Committee on Public Health Institutions, a member representing Ikoto Ekpene, Esia Udim Obot Akara Federal Constituency, Patrick Umor, pointed out discrepancies in the hospital's financial records pertaining to personnel, electricity, drug sales, revolving funds, and sundry. The committee was particular about the failure of the hospital to remit proceeds from sales of drugs to the tune of 4 billion naira.
We sit over the documents, we will evaluate them and do all that we can when necessary. But we have highlighted that we will conduct an audit, energy audit, personnel audit, and the drug revolving fund audit of this hospital. We have our suspicions, and of course we don't operate at the realm of suspicion until we have looked at all the books and conducted a proper evaluation or assessment on what we have or what has been presented to us.
The committee's report will be submitted to the National Assembly for further actions and deliberations. In Benin, Jude Abugu, NTA News.
And now to environment matters. Nigeria's biodiversity over the years has been threatened due to several factors such as land use, agricultural expansion, environmental pollution and climate change. Now an advocacy is ongoing nationwide, especially in some focal states, to enhance the conversation, sustainable use and restoration of lowland forest landscape in order to protect globally significant biodiversity and strengthen sustainable livelihood of local communities. Eugenia Ondubisi was at the Edo State Inception Workshop for the FAO GEF7 Biodiversity Project held in Benin City.
In order to achieve the restoration of biodiversity, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations is in collaboration with the Global Environment Facility Circle 7 Biodiversity Project and National Park Services. It has adopted Ogun, Edo, Delta and Ondo as its focal states, with priority landscape in Okomo and Gelegele Forest in Edo and Omo in Ogun State for its bio activities. Professor Shegu Oladoye is the technical advisor of the project, who gave an insight on the implementation and benefits of the project.
The project also seeks to reduce pressure on the forest area. We want to reduce forest pressure on the forest area and at the same time improve the livelihood of the communities. Like I said, the project has 4 components, and each of the components are designed in such a way that we want to integrate land planning management. We want to carry out restoration of some of the degraded forest area.
The National Project Coordinator, Lawrence Osaze, urged all the key stakeholders to commit themselves fully to ensure the project succeeds, while stakeholders delivered goodwill messages.
The Jeff provided a fund to enable us restore this lost biodiversity, and we hope that as we kick-started it, the communities will key into it, government will key into it, and private individuals and civil sector organizations will key into it.
We have to support it with all our strength and what we can provide as a state.
We as Commission, our role is technical support so that this program can be implemented.
It's better for us to deploy all acceptable practices that can encourage food production and also enable a better livelihood for all of us.
Some community leaders from Ovia Southwest and Ovia Northeast, where the bar activity will take place, had opportunity to make some clarifications.
The knowledge we have about it, we believe to join them and make sure the project succeeds. If they carry us along, we will be happy and in full support of it.
The project is expected to be implemented in 4 key components, such as integrated landscape policy, planning and management, implementation of biodiversity conservation and restoration in priority landscape, sustainable practice and livelihood in connecting productivity areas, and knowledge management, monitoring and education. In Benin, Eugenia Ndibisi, NTA News.
And that's it on the news tidbit segment. We'll delve straight into the discussion proper of our topic, which is the proliferation of substandard private schools. But before we go there, let's take a break.
Otherwise known as Waka. This is Health Plus. Today, searchlight on universal healthcare. What does it mean, Fatal?
It's good to sing praise unto our God, for it is pleasant and praise is comely.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode on Youth Arena.
Hey there, welcome to another exciting episode in Tower 7 Jams. It's your girl Pearl. You are watching NTA Benin, Channel 7 for your breaking news, program sponsorship and participation. Contact our marketing department. Follow us across our social media pages on Facebook, NTA Benin 1, on Twitter, NTA Benin 1, on YouTube, NTA Benin.
Do you live in Aduawa and environs, or you need a conducive and open field in Aduawa for your wedding receptions, birthday parties, annual ceremonies, family or corporate events in a serene and conducive environment that is close to nature? Then look no further. NTA Benin Aduawa is a place for you. NTA Benin Aduawa has a large field for all your events and ceremonies. Also, at NTA Corporate Headquarters TV Road, we have a state-of-the-art fully air-conditioned ultra-modern hall for all kinds of indoor events with a standby generating set, therefore ensuring uninterrupted power supply. We also have NTA Pavilion for all outdoor events at the same venue. Guess what? Our prices are affordable, locations are easily accessible, venues conducive and highly secured. Our outside broadcast van is available 24 hours and can broadcast your events live. And above all, you can air your events on our award-winning program like Events and Style. And any booking on the field or hall gets a bonus of free news coverage. Wow! What are you waiting for? Grab this opportunity and have your celebration in a grand style. For inquiries and bookings, please call NTA Benin, the award-winning station.
NTA Benin, reaching you from the ancient city of bronze, the cradle of black civilization.
Yeah, hello and welcome back. We've had our news tidbit segment and now we are in the high point of the program, which is the discussion segment, and our topic today is the proliferation of substandard schools. And we have in the studio this morning live to discuss this very salient issue Greg Iyayi. He's a public affairs analyst, a pastor, a lawyer, and a friend of the house. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Midweek Connect.
Good morning, Obey. Good morning, viewers.
Yes, you will. Before we delve into the discussion of, this issue, we'll have a backgrounder which talks about the fact that on a yearly basis there is an increase in number of nursery and primary schools in Edo State and Nigeria at large, mostly unapproved by government. These schools have continued to inject into the system unapproved practices, thereby giving additional financial burdens on parents. This led to the recent directives by Edo State government banning these unwarranted practices. Fokpe Kende will tell us more on this.
Substandard schools are schools that fall below approved standards. They lack qualified teachers, proper facilities, and standard teaching methods, leaving children with poor knowledge and weak skills. This problem has continued to grow in Nigeria as more unapproved nursery, primary, and secondary schools spring up in urban slums and rural areas. Parents turn to them because public schools are overcrowded and underfunded, while many private owners run schools merely for profit and introduced practices that have become serious, while many private owners run schools merely for profit and introduce practices that have become serious burdens on parents, such as purchase of fresh sets of textbooks yearly, exorbitant payments of graduation levies, and flamboyant ceremonies, among others. Sadly, these pupils in return go home with little or nothing commensurate for the money paid. As part of efforts to restore quality and discipline in the education system, the Edo State government banned graduation parties in nursery and primary schools, allowing only JSS 3 and SS 3 students to hold modest graduation ceremonies. Parents no longer purchase fresh sets of textbooks on yearly basis. The way forward, sustainable measures to these directives are possible solutions to the proliferation of substandard schools will be fully discussed on this week's edition of Midweek Connect.
Thank you, Fokpe, for that backgrounder to this discussion, which will set the tone to our discussion this morning. And so we heard some of the points raised there by Fokpe, on the proliferation of substandard schools. First of all, what's your take on on some of the points that were raised. For instance, what do you think is the reason for falling standard of education in Nigeria?
The reason for falling standard of education is actually the government. I'm sorry to say, but if you look at it, the government sets the standards, and the government is also like a pace setter when we are talking of the falling standard of education. Before now, you see, one of the most destructive steps that the military took under Gowon was to unilaterally take over all schools and then convert them to government schools. Let's look at education before then and education after then. It has been a downward trend because the government was like swallowing a fish that was bigger than its throat. So that from then on, morally, academically, infrastructurally, the education started going down. I think some people lied to the government, and the government unfortunately bought the idea that private school owners were making a lot of money and they were taking over resources that ought to belong to government, and the government, it was military. They paid what just very peanut amounts as compensation. School like Arewili, Annunciation Catholic College, Iwa, and many other schools, they were all private schools. Indeed, as at the time they took over schools in the Edo State, there were only 4 government schools in our states. The one that is now called Mameri, then Edo College, government college really, and one other school. All the other schools, AGGS, Imagwero, Itohan, they were all private schools, Edo Polo and all. What was the standard like then? Let's go back. And what is the standard now? So the government took over the schools, paid whatever they said was compensation, and then they injected their own system of education. And what we are seeing today is what we are seeing. So I feel the government shouldn't have taken over private schools. And that is what is responsible fundamentally, because you can't, a man gets the consequences of his own actions. So what we are seeing today, we are reaping the fruits of what was sown by the military, and various governments have tried to reverse the situation. They are opposed by trade unions like NUT, teachers unions and so on. And it's very sad, but some have been courageous and they have been handing over some of these schools that were seized instrumentally. I call it seized. They were seized from the owners. So that is what is responsible for the downward trend in education.
All right, so this issue of mushroom schools, because we tend to see every corner, these days, not only in Edo State, most part of the country, we tend to see schools where structures are below standard. The environment of the school, in fact, you tend to even wonder, what kind of knowledge will be imparted in this kind of environment. So what do you think are some of the problems that will arise from, the proliferation of substandard schools?
Now, after I read law and I also went to a pastoral school, I decided to take a postgraduate diploma in education because I am very, very interested in the education system. For my own knowledge, I just said, let me do a postgraduate after my law degree in education, and I did, and I got acquainted with a lot of the problems that are in the educational sector. Now, this so-called proliferation of substandard schools, the problem comes from parents, the problem comes from the government, the problem also comes from
Sorry to cut you short, sir. Before we continue with this point where we'll talk about the challenges, you know, what's it portends, you know, this proliferation. I'd like to inform our viewers that, of course, you know, Midweek Connect is a live program. It's a program where we give you, our viewers, the opportunity to call in, fill in, also air your view and your opinion on every issue we are discussing. And the phone line remains the same. The number is 0907 9711 321. I'll repeat that number, 0907 971 1321. Please do well to call him. We are expecting your call. Someone is standing by to receive your calls. So, sir, you were talking about the fact that you decided to further your education, get the requisite qualification to go into your education, despite the fact that you are a lawyer. So could you?
Yes, I just wanted to have the knowledge and then be actually acquainted about what the issues are in the educational sector, because whatever you are today, you know, the foundation is your education. You are a nurse, you are a lawyer, you are a politician. The foundation is your education. So, and that brings us to one important thing. One, if you look at for Ramat Park, let me just give you a very practical example in our neighborhoods. See, if you look at from Ramat Park down to a place like Ebobudu, there is only one government primary school. There is only one government primary school, and that is the one behind Aduwawa Secondary School, which Ohabo, when he was NADC commissioner, you know, facilitated in getting the established. Because just look at from Western Boys down to Ebobudu or Aduwawa, no other government primary school. Now, parents, some of them don't want their children to go too far. The logistics problem is also there. So they just look for any school around. That is one of the issues, that we do not have enough government schools to cater for the growing population. The population is growing, and as the population grows, no parent wants the child to stay at home. You won't go to nursery, you won't go to primary, you won't go to secondary, or you have to go very far away. The problem of transport, the problem of stress on the child, and all that. So,
and of course, to be unrealistic to put a child in basic school in boarding house. So
exactly.
Because of their tender age.
Yeah, at a tender age. And then, can you even afford it? And then, who are the owners of those schools? Also private citizens. Because there are a few boarding houses belonging to the government, a few ones like Edo College, Idia College, and others. So these are the problems. We don't have enough. I don't think there has been enough planning for the growing population. Let me give you an example. During the Ali era, you know, when he introduced free education, what he did was that he said a child should not trek more than a certain distance to go to school. So he encouraged every community, and we will come to that, the issue of private public partnership in the area of education. But I must confess, and let's give it to the government alone cannot cater for the educational needs in every society. Even in the civilized climate, you know, the government alone cannot fund education or provide all the needed education.
Yeah, when we're looking at the solution, perhaps we can now bring in those salient points on, you know, what to do to address this situation. And so, these schools,
yes,
the fact that yes, we know the population is much, children, despite the fact that the birth rate has dropped compared to 3 years ago, you know, or 4 years, 5 years ago, where you see a couple with about 7 children, 8 children is the norm. But now, if you are on your 4th pregnancy, people ask you, what are you looking for? So I think the birth rate is, you know, dropping compared to a few years ago. But we still have cost of living, this population, you know, where you want the best for your child.
Yes.
So even if you have 3 children, you still want the best for them.
Exactly.
So there are these schools, you agree with me that these schools, you know, they
are really substandard.
They are substandard. How will it affect the children? Let's look at the children now. What do you think what do you think will happen to these children that attend these schools?
Let me ask you a question. Who puts the children there? Parents. So that's why I said the problem is partly that of the government and also the parents. Because if you really value your child, if you actually value your child, you look at the school that you want the child to attend. You know, you compare it with what you want the child to be in future. So parents that take their children to substandard schools, very, very unacceptable learning environments, and then unqualified teachers, and then the infrastructure there is nothing to write home about. You see, there's one thing about parents. Parents want cheap education. Education cannot be cheap, and it's not cheap. You know?
Quality education.
Quality education. And if you are indeed, I don't want to talk of low quality education. When you talk of education, you should be talking of education that can actually mold the destiny of a child.
Yes.
Yeah, so parents should look at it, because if you look at the value system of many parents nowadays, and you compare it to parents of those days, the sacrifices they made, and what it has yielded. Many parents today are not ready to make that sacrifice. They aren't ready to make that sacrifice, because many people are where they are today because their parents made the sacrifice to send them to good schools, and they place value on education. How many parents still place value on education? You hear people saying nowadays very casually, who's school help? No, it's a reflection of our philosophical mindset about education or good education. So I will blame the parents who send their children to such school. Because let me tell you, if you establish a substandard school and parents don't bring their children, I mean, you will fold up, or you'll be forced to actually upgrade the standard of your school, employ good teachers, improve the environment, and all that. So I wouldn't really blame parents. And then government agencies, you know, that are to regulate these standards. You know, does the government have the manpower? Do they actually go out to go and do it? And then does the government empower the staff to actually go and supervise the standards, or try to find out what is going on in some of these schools? So in those days, you used to have inspectorate divisions, and these were not office sitting staff. They go out, they actually inspect schools, and then if there's any way that they are falling short of any standard, you know, they will advise them on what to do and give them time to do it.
All right, you just spoke briefly now. I was just coming to that where we talk about, you know, I understand that before opening a school, before even going into that business of being an educationist, an owner of an educational facility, there should be a process, right, where you seek for a permit and you are granted permit, and the way these schools are,
does it speak well? Does it speak well for our regulatory body, or should I call them those who enforce or ensure that I'm talking about the government angle now, because it's not just the parents alone, those who ensure that these schools, it's not just the structure. A school can be small.
Yes.
Yes, a school can be small and yet have quality, yet they do the right thing. So, what do you think about the fact that the way this enforcement is carried out to ensure that these schools meet standard?
To be honest with you, because we are on ground when it comes to these things, enforcement by government agencies is more also about money than standard and quality. I have no apology to anybody for saying this. It's more about money than standards or quality. So there's one, the government should not set, should not make it very difficult, if not impossible, to actually register a school. And then the government should be more on the side of helping, anybody who really has a passion to establish a school, making it easy and making it possible for them, and actually assisting them with all the advice that they can give and all the direction that they can give. By the time you are asking schools to pay humongous amounts, stupendous amounts of money, some of them will find a way to circumvent the system. That's the truth. Education is not essentially a money-making industry. It's a social service, and the government should be ready to be as liberal as possible. In other climes where private schools thrive, you will find the government giving some subvention. What does the government do for private schools? They share nothing to them, they give nothing to them, and they collect money from them. So this is the issue. What has the government done to really help private schools? Do they support them?
Because private is a business. The owners of private schools, you agree that it's just like any other business. If government doesn't support other entrepreneurs, why would you now support someone? I think you should be ready before deciding to go into a business. You should be ready to meet up with all the requirements.
I disagree with you. Do you know that it was found that besides the government service, the state government, that the educational sector is the second largest employer of labor in this state. This is an educational state, and I disagree with this that pure water business, cement business is not the same as school business. School business is a social service. A social service that should be supported or encouraged by the government. If the government cannot give funds to private schools to improve, the government can make things easy. There was this talk about education bank. It came up and it died. Nothing to support education.
All right, so let's just quickly take a short break. When we return, we'll continue with the discussion, which is heating up. But before we go on that break, let's let you know that you can phone in to the program and air your views and your opinions on the number 070-609-527-85 or 090-797-11321, or there's another number 080-2471-2499. Please do continue to stay with the program. We'll be back shortly.
Do you live in Aduwawa and environs, or you need a conducive and open field in Aduwawa for your wedding receptions, birthday parties, annual ceremonies, family or corporate events in a serene and conducive environment that is close to nature? Then look no further. NTA Benin Aduwawa is a place for you. NTA Benin Aduwawa has a large field for all your events and ceremonies. Also, At NTA Corporate Headquarters, TV Road, we have a state-of-the-art, fully air-conditioned, ultra-modern hall for all kinds of indoor events with a standby generating set, therefore ensuring uninterrupted power supply. We also have NTA Pavilion for all outdoor events at the same venue. Guess what? Our prices are affordable, locations are easily accessible, venues conducive and highly secured. Our outside broadcast van is available 24 hours and can broadcast your events live. And above all, you can air your events on our award-winning program like Events and Style. And any booking on the field or hall gets a bonus of free news coverage. Wow! What are you waiting for? Grab this opportunity and have your celebration in a grand style. For inquiries and bookings, please call NTA Benin, the award-winning station.
Welcome back. Don't forget to join in the conversation via the number 09024712499. And we still have our guest, Greg Iyayi, on the program. And before we went on that break, we were discussing the fact that you had a strong, very strong opinion contradicting my view, where I say that I don't think government, should go about supporting private school owners. And so you were raising a point saying that education is a social, service.
It's a social service, whether by the public sector or by the private sector. And I think, look at universities like Harvard and other schools. They are supported, they are given subvention. No private institutions. Howard, they are given subventions by the American government. Very stupendous amount invested. No, they are private institutions. So what I want to say is this. If the government cannot give money, the government should make it easy for them to either get money or reduce to the very barest minimum the charges that they extract from them. Let me say this, private school owners, they are crying, they are bleeding because of the excessive amounts that are required from them. They bleed out the money from them, and once the government takes that money, they don't have that money to invest in improvement of infrastructure. That is the way the government should help, and then the government should give them support staff, and really encourage them. That's what was done in those days. Do you know that in those days government was paying most of the teachers in private schools? The government was paying most of the teachers in private schools. We are not asking the government to do that, but at least what you charge them to register a school, to renew their license and other things, you need to be in a private school. If you're in a private school, you will see in the Board of Internal Revenue will come, Waste Management will come, Environmental will come, this one will come, and as the owner is collecting the fees, is paying it out. Not to talk of the issue of some of them will tell you the team that came, they were not the genuine team, you paid to the wrong people. And all that. So the private school owner is an employer of labor. They are taking some people off the streets. They are removing people from the labor market and giving them something to live on. The government should encourage them. If you can't give them loans, soft loans, which the government can do, give them soft loans and they charge it on their school fees. Make sure that the banks that they give them from, that's where the parents pay to. But if you can't do that, at least reduce their charges. Remove the burdens and the shackles from their heads.
So, sir, we also saw a situation recently where the activities of these mushroom schools have attracted the attention of Governor Monday Okpebholo, and he has banned some of these excesses. Just recently, we saw a situation where the last area of graduation, it was something else. people going as far as, you know, for KG3, a child going from KG3 to primary 1, you know, someone said it has not gotten to where we celebrate mediocrity. You know, it used to be where a child is graduating from university, you go all out, but some people went all out. And the fact that also books, you know, where we see a situation where in those days the books my sister used, that was what I used, the textbooks, I passed it down to my younger ones and so on and so forth. But these days the expenses incurred, and it's more in these private schools. So what's your take on the step taken by the state governor?
I think the state governor did the right thing, I must say, in really checking the excesses. The graduation ceremony is a very sober ceremony. It's an educational ceremony. It's not where you throw like a birthday party, marriage, reception, and all that. And I think we really went too far. That we have to come to this point before we're checked by the government is also because, let me also talk to the private school owners. You have to talk to yourselves to check excesses. I know sometimes some of them are looking for money. That is why they go all out. What about the parents? These are the same parents who will not buy maths or English textbooks, but they will have money. Some of them will hire a private video cameraman. They will pay for canopy. They will do all kinds of check their textbooks. Some of them did buy textbooks for their children because they are relying on miracle centers. You know, that is where it goes. So the governor did the right thing in checking their excesses. Because if you even go to other climes, graduation ceremony takes the shortest period you can think of. They just call people out, make short speeches, and then they give the certificates and then award prizes to deserving students. And the ceremony closes. If you want to go to your house and be celebrating, that one is left for you. But it's not part of the school or graduation program. So it's an academic institution, and we should look at that. And I think that is very much in order. People, while celebrating, even university students, just because they have finished, they haven't gotten their result. Some of them will come back to come and write those same exams, but they will hire vehicles like politicians and they'll be waving and driving on through the street. Some of them have had accidents. 1 or 2 in that woman have died. So these are things that are actually made for our own good. Graduation ceremony should be as sober, carry the aura of an academic occasion, award of certificates and prizes, and then a few speeches and maybe recitations and other things. And then if you want to entertain parents, you entertain. If you don't want to, then let them go. So, as simple as that.
All right. What about the
issue of textbooks?
The issue of textbooks.
Yeah, I think he also did the right thing. You cannot place an unacceptable burden on parents. Let me tell you, in our own home, once you finish a class, you come on holidays. My father will collect all we had a home library. My father will collect all the textbooks from you. We had a big shelf. The textbook that my father used, She Stood to Conquer, I used it in my A-level at Edo College. When they bring list of books, my father will just go to that library. Those ones that are available, he will put them on one side before he ever even thinks of going to the bookshop. And he will always tell you when he's buying a textbook for you that you are going to return this textbook to the house. When you come, even first and second term, after you have settled down, he say bring your books. He wants to check whether those books he bought for you, they are correct. But let me tell you, many parents nowadays do not even buy textbooks, not to talk of checking. But I believe this will reduce the unnecessary burden that is placed on parents to change books every time and not allow them to use the one that their seniors used.
All right. So how should because we know that parents are the ones who actually take their children, enroll their children in these schools. What should parents do differently going forward?
Parents should look at the environment, and then they should inquire about the teaching staff. Our parents deliberately sent us to schools where we will be well taught, and then where there was a conducive learning environment. We go to school where children are cramped into a small room. But let me also say this: the reason why the government may not have the moral authority to do some of these things, because the state belongs to all of us. Check some government schools. No furniture. Children carry seats from their homes to school. This shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. So when some of these private schools are being castigated, what about government schools? Some of them don't have functional conveniences. You ask children to go into the bush. What about the staff? So these are things, when we are talking about facilities, these are some of the things they should check. Do they have functional conveniences? Do they have good classrooms? Do they have seats for the children? The school I attended, we had single seats. Single seats. Spacious classroom. We don't even need fan. It was so airy that with or without fan, we were okay. So I don't understand. I know that every school may not be like that. The people will say Edo College was an elitist school. But let me tell you, that was like the kind of standards for every school. And there was nothing extraordinary about it. We have functional conveniences. We have good sports fields. So government schools, do they have them? And then when you now go to private schools, the situation might be worse. But are they not taking a cue from the government? Even in the cities here now, how many government schools have functional conveniences? Some of them. Look at the learning environment. Let's even go outside Benin. So we're not talking of those schools that are along the roads, because I know that every government wants good publicity. They repair the ones that are along the road and put big signboards there. But what of the ones inside? What of the ones in the villages? And that is where we should come to one thing that I was coming to. That government should admit that they cannot alone fund education. Public-private partnership. Ali, leveraged on that very well. He told every community, if you can build a block of classrooms, I will post teachers there and pay them. I will give you a school van. Communities were virtually competing with themselves. Many of the schools you are seeing now, Aduawa, Aurora, and all those things, all those schools were set up during the early era by the communities. And the communities, they call their sons and daughters that have strong financial hands. And you see them almost every Saturday launching development. And they build schools. And then the government came in. The government didn't have to bother about building schools and all that. And they renovated those schools and equipped those schools by themselves. And then the government just concentrated on ensuring that they post qualified teachers to them, and they pay them regularly, and it worked. And if we go back to it today, it will still work. Involve the communities, involve the individuals. You cannot do it alone. Honestly, no government does it. Not even in America, not even in Britain, not in any of these civilized climes. You know, involve involve parents, involve communities, and then let us have good schools. Honestly.
So, sir, in other words, you're saying that if government involves, well-spirited individuals and community, there's a community involvement.
Yes.
And if we have enough public schools, we would see a trend where parents would rather go for public schools than these mushroom private schools.
Exactly. Public schools that are well run, not just any public school. A public school where the roof is leaking and the child's uniform is wet and the child has to sit on the floor, or the burden of taking seat to school, sit back. I almost weep when I see some of these children. We didn't do anything like that in our days. We had single seats in our schools, and then the government should allow old students associations to encourage them to be involved in making sure that the schools, like our own school, my own class of 75, we raised 15 million among ourselves to equip an e-library in Edo College. And in our 50th year anniversary, that is coming up sometime in October, we are planning to do more for the school. We raised 15 million. We did a short period among ourselves, and we did the e-library. And there are many old students associations that are willing to do this for their schools. The government should encourage them to do so. Make it easy for them. And you see that before you know, many of our schools are well equipped.
And that will help to address the situation. Thank you, Greg Iyayi, a public affairs analyst, a pastor and a friend of the house, for joining us this morning to discuss the challenges of proliferation of substandard schools in Edo State, in Nigeria and in Edo State. He has proffered a solution, and I must say I agree with it, that there should be a synergy, private-public partnership, to boost the public educational sector.
Exactly.
This will encourage parents and guardians, because I would rather go for a good public school.
Yes.
I'd rather go for a good public school than, a substandard private school. Many thanks, sir, for joining us on Midweek Connect. It has been very interesting. We thank you for being a part of this program this week. Please do join us again next week for another fresh edition of Midweek Connect. Have a blessed day.